hope you all are doing well in this lockdown period. So today I'll be discussing how to write long answer on occupational diseases. Now, first of all, to write the long answer, you must know what questions are being usually asked here. So for long question, you are asked about to write the classify occupational diseases and describe the various measures for prevention of occupational diseases. Or it can be like this, ki what is pneumoconiosis? Describe the various types of pneumoconiosis and measures for its prevention. So these are basically the long questions which are usually asked in this chapter, and for short note you can be asked about the Employee State Insurance Act, the difference between silicosis and asbestosis, the Factories Act, sickness, absenteeism, ergonomics or leg toxicity. So these are usually the questions which are asked in this chapter, and for the few seconds I'll be talking about how to attempt these questions. So guys, talking about the first question, that is classify the occupational diseases. So basically there is no internationally accepted definition for this occupational disease. However, I'm quoting it from the PARC that occupational diseases are usually defined as diseases arising out of or in the course of the employment. So basically these are diseases which arise out of the occupation which you are doing. So there is not fixed definition, you can write it so that your answer looks good. Now basically classifying the occupational diseases. So these diseases are usually caused by 5 things, basically 5, that is first is physical agents, chemical agents, then biological agents, then these can be cancers, dermatosis, or they can be of psychological origin, basically making it to 6 categories. So out of physical agents, it can be due to heat, like heat hyperpyrexia, heat exhaustion, heat syncope, heat cramps and burns. Okay. For out of cold can be frostbite, trench foot, light can be occupational cataract or Meniere's nystagmus. Then can be from pressure like Caisson's disease, air embolism, occupational deafness out of noise, and then radiation, cancer, leukemia, aplastic anemia, mechanical injuries, then accidents and electricity burns. All these can be due to physical agents. Then chemical agents can be pneumoconiosis, which is a very important topic, then from the gas poisoning, then metal poisoning, then certain other chemical poisonings like pesticide poisoning. Then out of biological agents can be brucellosis, leptospirosis, anthrax, and many more fungal diseases are also there. Then occupational cancers can be there, like cancer of skin, lungs and bladder, and then occupational dermatosis like dermatitis, eczema. Then there can be disease of psychological origin like industrial neurosis, hypertension, peptic ulcer. So this is basically the classification of the occupational disease. Now we talk about how you can prevent these diseases. So before we talk about the prevention of these occupational disease, let's talk about what is pneumoconiosis, and then we can do the prevention in general about the occupational diseases. So pneumoconiosis is the most famous occupational disease which is usually asked in the exam. It is very favorite question. So basically pneumoconiosis by definition is a respiratory tract disease which is caused due to dust. Now these dust particles can be of various sizes. Basically the particles of size more than 0.1 micron and less than 5 micron is called a respirable dust, and this is responsible for pneumoconiosis. So now pneumoconiosis can be of various type depending upon what is the product of dust. If it is silica, then it becomes silicosis. If it is asbestos, and it is asbestosis, then iron is siderosis. Coal dust becomes anthracosis. Aluminium becomes aluminosis. Beryllium beryllosis. Stone lithosis. If it is an organic dust like cotton dust, it can be bisonosis. Sugarcane bagacosis. Tobacco dust is tabacosis, and moldy hay is farmer's lung. So basically, and these products you can see in various different industries like stone, sand industry, asbestos cement factory, coal mines, aluminium industry, beryllium mining industry, textile industry, tobacco, agriculture, anywhere you can see this. So now let's talk about the prevention of occupational disease in general, taking the example of pneumoconiosis, which is the most famous occupational disease. So basically whenever we talk about prevention, we have to deal under 3 categories. That is, first is primary prevention, then secondary, and then tertiary prevention. So primary prevention includes 2 headings. First is health promotion and second is specific protection. So under health promotion here, the term comes about pre-placement examination. That is, it consists of thorough examination of the individuals before giving them the job, which includes not only the thorough physical examination but also routine investigations like including the X-ray chest. Then health education. The employees at a risk of pneumoconiosis are educated about the hazards of dust inhalation over a long period. They are also educated about the hazards of smoking as a precipitating factor and prevention of those hazards. So basically they are more and more educated about how they have to protect themselves. Then there is a prevention of healthy physical environment, that is improvement in the sanitation practices such as cleanliness, adequate ventilation, good housekeeping, all that. Then there should be control of dust should be made, like prevention of formation of dust at the point of origin by water sprays or oil or steam. Then prevention of escape of dust into the atmosphere by special enclosures or cabinets. Then keeping the moisture content below 20% and spraying 2% propionic acid, that is fungicide, controls bacillus. Then use of safe type of asbestos like chrysolite white form and amosite brown form that reduces the hazards of asbestosis, and removal of dust by special ventilatory arrangements. Second point is specific protection. So workers should protect themselves by using face masks, which are very popular these days in corona time, and respirators and gas masks. Then secondary prevention includes the early diagnosis and prompt treatment. So periodic examination including the X-ray chest so that the cases of respiratory diseases can be detected should be done. So basically you have to do a routine examination of your employees and the chest X-ray and all that. You need to see that whether they have acquired some form of pneumoconiosis or not. And you have to promptly treat it also. For talking about tertiary prevention, that consists of disability limitation and rehabilitation. So disability limitation consists of limiting the further disability of the worker by detecting even the slightest degree of disability and immediately assigning some other suitable job. So you can like have job rotations, like when in the radiology department people are exposed to a lot of radiations, then they usually go for a leave. So basically they have got those badges, and because of which it tells them that now the work has been overloaded and now they have to go to leave. So that kind of job rotation should be done. Okay. Then rehabilitations, like this is required for those workers who have become handicapped due to the development of fibrosis of the lungs. They require physical, psychological, social and vocational rehabilitation. So all these kinds of rehabilitations are kept in mind, and this is how only you need to attempt any question about the prevention. First talk about the primary prevention, secondary and then tertiary prevention, including the specific interventions like health promotion and specific protection, then early diagnosis and prompt treatment, then disability limitation and rehabilitation. Other important questions which can be asked about you in occupational diseases, like what kind of agricultural diseases you can get. So if we talk about what occupational hazards an agricultural worker, for example, is exposed to, you can be asked about anyone like a radiologist or a factory worker, anyone. Then you have to apply your brains and write the answer. I'm just taking an example of an agricultural, a farmer for that sake. So a farmer is basically exposed to zoonotic diseases like close contact of agriculture worker with animals increases the chances of zoonosis like brucellosis, anthrax, leptospirosis, tetanus, bovine tuberculosis or Q fever. Accidents, he can get into an accident like using a machinery, or even can get snake and insect bites, which are very common in the fields. Then toxic hazards out of the pesticides and fertilizers, and then susceptibility to poisons and parasitic infestations also that farmers can get. Physical hazards include the extremes of temperature, like extremes of humidity and solar radiation. They can get heat stroke and all that. And then there can be respiratory difficulties also, like exposure to dust of grains, rice husk, coconut fibers, tea, tobacco, cotton. Hay may lead to bisonosis, bacchuscosis, farmer's lung and occupational asthma. So these are basically the occupational hazards which a farmer is exposed to. You need to keep in mind for any radiologist and anyone who is at a particular job. You need to think about what possible problems that person can face. Just need to apply your common sense and you can easily write it out. So with this, basically we conclude the long answers, like we have talked about the classification of occupational diseases, and also we talk about what is pneumoconiosis, the types of pneumoconiosis. We discussed about the what are the various health hazards of agricultural disease, and we also talk about the prevention of these occupational disease, taking pneumoconiosis as an example. So now talking about the short notes. So first of all, we talk about the differences between silicosis and asbestosis. So silicosis is caused by silica dust and asbestosis is caused by asbestos fibers. Silicosis basically affects the upper zone of the lung, whereas asbestosis affects the lower zone. Silicosis causes pathology as alveolitis that leads to exudates and leads to nodular fibrosis, whereas in asbestosis there is a bronchial inflammatory response which leads to a diffuse inflammatory response. Then in X-ray, in silicosis you can get snowstorm appearance, and whereas in asbestosis you get ground glass appearance on X-ray. So basically silicosis is prone to develop TB, whereas asbestosis is a precancerous condition and most commonly leads to bronchial cancer, and most specifically being mesothelioma. So taking this lecture furthermore, another question can be about the lead toxicity. So basically if you get a short note on lead toxicity, just write the mechanism, how this lead toxicity occurs, and what are the clinical features and what treatment will you do. So clinical features can be remembered in the form of a mnemonic like A, B, C, D, E, S. Okay? So for A is anemia, B is Burtonian's line or basophilia, basophilic stippling rather. Then there can be C is about the colicky pain or the abdominal pain, is also known as painter's colic. Then D is foot drop or wrist drop. E is eosinophilia, anencephaly or ADTA, which is used as a treatment of option, and S is a succimer that is used as a treatment option in children. So basically lead toxicity is this much only. Just write the mechanism of action of lead toxicity, what does lead toxicity does, and then there is, you can see that there is an increase in ALA enzyme in the blood and decrease in heme synthesis, leading to the further clinical features which can be remembered in the form of mnemonic A, B, C, D, E, S, and the treatment is also hidden in this mnemonic itself. So this is how you attempt a short note on lead toxicity, which is also known as plumbism. Now talking about the Employee State Insurance Act. So if you get a short note on this topic, that is ESI Act, just tell that it was launched, it is coming under the Ministry of Labour, whose chairman is a Union Minister of Labour. This was launched by the ESI Corporation in 1948. All the organizations come under the ESI Act except 4, that is Defence, Railway, Central Government and Mines. For whom this is mandatory. ESI benefit is for those employees who are earning less than 2100 rupees per month. Okay. So now the benefits by ESI. So there are certain benefits to employee and certain benefit to employers. So employee benefits include the sickness benefit, extended sickness benefit, medical benefit, maternity benefit, disablement benefit, dependence benefit, funeral services, and then ESI benefit is also for the employer also. Okay. So basically the employer gets exemption from the applicability of Workmen's Compensation Act 1923, exemption from the Maternity Benefit Act 1961, exemption from the payment of the medical allowances to employees and their dependents, then rebate under the income tax and health the workforce. So all these are the benefits to the employers, and the benefit to the employees include basically the medical benefit, sickness benefit, maternity benefit, disablement, dependent, funeral services and rehabilitation allowances. So just to, if you get this question, just write about when this act was passed, under which department it comes, who is the head of this department, what all sectors does this act involves. It involves all the sectors except defense, railway, central government and mines. Next everyone. Then you talk about the benefits to the employees. Just write one line for each benefit and then talk about the benefit to the employers, and then you can straight away finish this act. See, take. Now we talk about the Factories Act. So basically in Factories Act you have to keep a track of certain points which have been made for the workers. Factories Act was launched in 1948 and it talks about certain basic requirements. It talks about the minimum space required by each person working in the factory should be 500 cubic feet per person. Age of the employee should be greater than 14 years according to Article 24. 15 to 18 years adolescents, or these are the tender age group students, the appropriate work should be given according to their age. And Article 23 protects the right of adolescents at workplace. Maximum permissible work time is 48 hours per week, and maximum time including the overtime is 60 hours per week. Or the overtime hours can be just 12 hours per week. ठीक? Then you have to see also that section 2A of the Maternity Act says any establishment which has 50 or more employees including males and females shall have a facility of crèche. Under Factories Act 1948, factories with greater than 30 female workers should have a crèche facility. Greater than 250 workers should have a canteen facility, greater than 500 workers should have a welfare officer, and greater than 1000 workers should have a safety officer. And an adolescent should be given one leave every 15 days. Okay, so this is about certain 5-6 points about the factories, and basically you have to point out these points only, and these are already visible on your screen. Just pause the video and see and note down these points. As you can see on your screen, this complex term that is ergonomics, which is favorite question of some of the cruel examiners. Ergonomics is now a well-recognized discipline and constitutes an integral part of any advanced occupational health services. It's basically meaning that how you can make the workspace beneficial for the worker that is working here. Like when you need to study, just make a comfortable and cozy environment for yourself. The same way, the environment in which a worker is made to work should be very warm and cozy for him. Okay, so and that is all what ergonomics talks about. The term ergonomics is derived from the Greek ergon, meaning work, and nomos, meaning law. So it means the fitting the job to the worker. Training in ergonomics involves designing of machines, tools, equipments, and manufacturing processes, layout of the place of work, method of work and environment in order to achieve greater efficiency of both man and machine. मतलब आपको इस तरह से सारी चीज़ें बनानी है जिससे कि जो मैन है और जो मशीन है उन दोनों का जो मैक्सिमम आउटपुट निकल सके वो आए. मतलब इतना आप इन्वायरमेंट सूटेबल बना दीजिए वर्कर के लिए कि वो थोड़े से भी टाइम में बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छा काम कर सके. ठीक है, फिर उसके बाद इसमें बात करते हैं द ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ ergonomics इज टू अचीव द बेस्ट म्यूचुअल एडजस्टमेंट ऑफ अ मैन एंड हिज वर्क for the improvement of human efficiencies and well-being. The application of ergonomics has made a significant contribution to reducing industrial accidents and to the overall health and efficiency of the workers. So basically talk about the benefits and what is ergonomics. You can also quote certain examples from your day-to-day life which you always see here and there. So sickness absenteeism is another important topic for a short note, usually not asked but it can be asked. Sickness absence is an important health problem in the industry and it may seriously impede the production with serious cost and repercussions, both direct as well as indirect. So absenteeism is a useful index in industry to assess the state of the health of the workers and their physical, mental and social well-being. So when we talk about the incidence of this, India has a working force of about 30 million in registered factories, and the rate of absenteeism was reported to be just 8 to 10 days per head per year. Now, what are the causes of being absent from your work? Either can be economic causes, like studies have shown that it has been shown that if you allow a person with leave to have pay also, that means he is on leave and he is still being paid, then he takes the advantage of this concept and takes more leaves. Then social causes can be certain social factors appear to influence the sickness absenteeism in India. Like these are social and family obligations such as weddings, festival, repair and maintenance of ancestral house and similar other causes. Medical causes can about 10% of the days lost were found to be due to occupational accidents, respiratory ailments and other diseases. Then non-occupational causes can include the nutritional disorders, alcoholism and drug addictions have found to be responsible for sickness absenteeism. So basically now talk about the prevention. The prevention or reduction of sickness absenteeism would result in better utilization of resources and maximizing the production. So basically the methods of reducing it are good factory management and practices, adequate replacement examination, good human relations and application of ergonomics. So this is all about the occupational diseases, what all questions can be asked. I've basically dealt how you can write it. You can usually see all the points you have to write down on your screen in this whole video. Guys, do like and subscribe, and if you want video on more topics, you can comment in the comment section below. Thank you guys for your all support.